Warm greetings, everyone. Welcome to today's session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. This session is conducted with the support of Water Resource Council of the Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry in collaboration with W for W Foundation and media partner Counterview. My name is Anubhuti and I am the National Youth Representative Committee of Wiki Water Resource Council. I am joined by Dr. Mansi Balbhargav, who is currently holding the position of National President of Wiki Water Resource Council and also the founder director of W for W Foundation. Welcome, Mansi.
Hello, hi.
Today, in this session, we are here to listen and know more about Alka Palrecha. Alka Palrecha has founded People in Center at Ahmadabad, India, a consulting service organization engaged in development work throughout India in partnership with non-profits and government. She has worked with urban and rural communities for community-based management of water resources and services for the last 2 decades. Some of the issues she worked on include coastal salinity mitigation, wastewater reuse, drinking water provision, and quality and irrigation management. She holds a master's degree in landscape architecture from the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. She was a Humphrey Fulbright Fellow at MIT in the Urban Studies and Planning Department. She is currently interested in policies and institutional processes for the safe reuse of urban wastewater for agriculture in peri-urban India. She has carried out studies in 5 states in India and made a film, Wastewater Bazaar, in partnership with IWMI Tata program. Her current focus is on institutionalizing and legalizing wastewater use for irrigation in India. Welcome to today's Monday Munching session, Alka ma'am. We are so excited to have you on today's session and so eager to hear from you, your journey in the water sector. My first question to you is, how did you start your career in water endeavors, and how did you realize that you belong in the water sector? What was your clicking point in this journey?
So I am educated as a landscape architect. So landscape architects usually are educated to see beyond built environments. So you see anything but the buildings, everything else but the buildings. So in that sense, I was kind of, trained to look at soil, water, and forests and vegetation, basically. So natural resources was something I was trained to look at. But the profession of landscape architecture is such, at least in India, that it is not about really landscape planning, but it's about designing smaller things which usually are for elite clientele. And I was not comfortable working only with one section of the society and actually not looking at others who impact landscapes in a large way or gets impacted by landscapes in a very, very big way. So just looking at, smaller portions and smaller lands and designing that and moving on actually really did not change anything for landscape itself. So, I really never practiced because of just because of this reason, that it really had no impact. So I started looking at different things, what to do. I was unemployed. I was just gallivanting around, being a nomadic, traveling. And during that time only, I really traveled a lot, backpacking, almost like a hippie, all over India and especially in tribal areas, and slept under trees, talked to people. And then that is the time I joined Ahmadabad Andolan, because that's where I felt that, at least I would know of the issues of landscape. Which I did not know in college, in the university, but probably this was an opportunity to know it better. And I spent around 2 years with them, and organizations like Uttan also supported me. There were many more. Supported me in the sense they provided for basic amenities which are required for survival. So that's how, I started my things. Then I got married, and fortunately, my husband was also into things which affect, poorer people, poorer section of the society. And we were wondering what to do. And that time I had a very young son, maybe 1 year old, and I was teaching in SEPT. SEPT is a university in Ahmadabad. I was teaching in SEPT in landscape architecture. I taught for around 2 years, studios, and again, same kind of feeling. I was not happy. So I wanted to go back to remote places where I can really, communicate, interact with people who really matter. So, and then there was then I took up a job with the Alka Palrecha support program and went to Junagadh in a remote village. I spent some 3 years there in a very small village, handling a team of some 40 people, all men. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Alka ma'am. I think the journey from architect, urban landscape planners towards NGO must be really enriching and challenging for you, because now a lot of your work is towards communities and working with NGOs and government. So how was your experience working with the community and all these NGOs? Because what we as professionals have studied was focused towards dealing with communities and in how people in the communities work, in the environment work. But you not coming from that background, how was your experience in this field?
So in fact, probably, this is also a question on the education which is happening in universities, that how can you teach without involving people? You cannot teach really, because you are not only dealing with natural resources, they are with people are part of it, and you have to be understanding that during even learning, so even in colleges. So even if landscape architecture per se did not impart such an education, but as I said, Narmada Bachao Andolan was a school for me. So it taught me a lot, and that is where I learned.
So my next question to you is, so was it a easier decision for you to decide that you want to go and work for the community, or was it a challenging task looking at that you won't get a lot of money out of it? You may have to face a problem dealing with basic resources. So was it a easier choice you had to make, or was there any sort of pressure or sacrifices that you had to make in your life to choose this path? How was I'm so sorry if back to back I'm asking a lot of questions, but your answers.
I'm enjoying what you are asking.
Okay. Sure,
so, Anubhuti, the thing is, I wouldn't fit anywhere else. If you ask me very honestly. So I wouldn't, I realized that, just after passing my architecture, landscape architecture, that I wouldn't fit anywhere else. So that was very clear to me. Secondly, there are 3 aspects. One is family, society, and the profession, what you call professional colleagues or whatever, professional circle, not only colleagues. So 3 aspects where you try to fit in or, look at what they think a landscape architect should be. I was told by my people in the architecture circle that I had wasted a seat of landscape architecture because I was not really practicing landscape architecture in their definition what landscape architecture was. So it really did not bother me. But I have a really, what to say, I am from a generation, I'm much older than you. So I'm from a generation where we were told, how you should be, what you should be wearing, what you should be speaking, how you should be behaving, what kind of learning you should be doing, where you should be getting educated, what you should be eating, everything you are told. But it's actually, when I, look back, I think it's really a very hard work to be like someone, as someone else is telling you to be. So I chose an easier path. I did not listen to them. I was kind of lazy. So,
Alka, you are at your best today. I must say this because we know
yeah,
each
so
other.
I really never listened to them. I studied in Delhi, which my father never wanted me to study in Delhi because Delhi was considered. I'm from Bombay, born and brought up in Bombay. And my father, I had got admission in both the places, CEPT also and School of Planning and Architecture, Delhi, both places. So I wanted to go to Delhi just for the adventure of it. There was no other reason. The other reason was only this, that landscape architecture was offered in SPA, which was the only place in whole of Asia. Even Singapore did not offer it that point in time. So there was this attraction that I'm going to do something which is rare. And in CEPT, I had got in environmental planning. So both are kind of similar. But I wanted to go to Delhi. Now, my father would want me to go to Ahmadabad, which is closer to Bombay and more culturally, similar in a way. So, yeah, so I would also now, try to give credit to my mother and mother-in-law here, both, who have supported me really, almost like going out of their way. So both of them, and which is remarkable. My mother that time had funded me and sent me out to give the test in SPA without telling my father. And I took the admission that time, and it was a difficult thing for a woman to do that time. Realize those times when you have to always be obedient, kind of, which I think me and my mother both were not. So, so I could at least do architecture in Delhi. And during my studies also, I should tell you this, that our head of department was Mr. Dhar. And Mr. Dhar was womanizer. So we had gone on a massive strike and saw to it that he was sacked. We really did not attend school. Our scholarships were forfeited. It was a massive decision because our careers were at stake. So at some point in time, you really don't look at your future, but try to see what is right at the moment and want to do that. So, and it was not only me, it was the whole two batches, first year and second year. So around careers at stake of 30 people. We were thrown out of class almost like that. Our scholarships had gone. Our parents were pressurizing us. But he was a womanizer who had really named me Bombshell from Bombay. And it hurts. It hurts. It's like, so much of sexism. He would call at night 12 o'clock, all kinds of things. So there was a proper inquiry and he was sacked eventually. So that was, kind of, these were the incidences which were building these thoughts that, you cannot really have one career path, but you have to see at each point that what is right for you, what you should be doing, and for the larger group.
Right. Now that you have mentioned about how people used to say that you have wasted your seat as an architect, I usually ask this question at the end of the session about how you feel the youth should do work on in the water sector or environment sector. But I would like to ask this question right now, that if some student or if some young researcher scholar is studying landscape, or how do they decide, how do they pick up? Sometimes it comes from within, that you want to work and go in the field of environment and do something for the community, but sometimes there is this notion that I won't get a lot of money, how will I survive? So what would you suggest? Are there more opportunities? Is there opportunities for the students who would opt for environment sector? So how would you tell the young scholars in taking the path of landscape, environment, and yeah.
So if you are really asking about career paths, that whether you are able to grow in a chosen path of, say, studying environment or water or doing something about it, my answer is not only about environment or water, But for anything, whatever is your passion, if you keep working on it, I don't think there is a problem of money. You have to be persistent. It's not only about this sector, it's true for any sector.
Yes, right, ma'am. Because whenever I talk to Mansi, ma'am, she always say that how when she compare the friends she had who used to earn a lot at that point of time when she was at her young age, and now both of them are on the same page, but she is happier because she followed what her passion was. But as youngsters, when I talk to my other friends, because most of my friends are not in the field of environment or anything related to environment, so they have this notion that we don't get money. We Most of the youngsters are running towards money, and so deciding what your passion really is very difficult at this age. I don't know if I'm putting it correctly, but my whole point is for young generation kids, it's very difficult to decide what their passion really is. At the age when they sort of figure out also that that is something they like, it's little late for them to like switch paths. So yeah.
I get your point. You're trying to say that to really pin down your own what you like, it's a journey, I also keep changing. It's not that, I like water, meaning I like water and I want to live or die with water. It's not like that. It does keep changing. But in my experience, at least I can say this much, that, your thoughts would change, your things would change, but overall anchor has to remain the same. And unless and until, if you don't find it, make efforts to find it. It does require efforts, it doesn't come automatically to you. So it is difficult to find that where will you fit. It's not easy, and sometimes it's a very long journey. For some people it is short. Like some of the students I meet can decide in 6th standard that they want to become this. Some of them cannot even decide after 12th or after graduation also that what do they want to do.
Right.
So it depends, and there is no judgment about it. That when do you find your, purpose of life? There is no judgment about it, but you have to keep struggling, keep trying to exploring yourself. First, to know your own self is a task. It's a difficult one. It's not easy. So yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alka ma'am. I think it was a good conversation, short conversation to you to talk about all these things. I would request Mansi ma'am to take it forward from here and talk more about women leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anubhuti. And as you know that what I was talking about, Alka, she is at her best today. So thanks, Alka, for joining. And I was really enjoying listening to both of you, because the idea is people like Anubhuti and others can really open up and ask those naive questions which are extremely important in the early career, And I wish we had those kind of mentors more than we had in that time. I know you had a privilege of working with Medhaji and many other people around, and probably the enlightenment came through those mentorship directly or indirectly. But at the same time, you rightly mentioned that there is something about your own drive also. We both hail from architecture department or discipline, and we both have defied the whole discipline, or I say usually, because we have also had interacted in the architecture discussion, that we have actually expanded the horizon of architecture itself. So why to limit architecture to this manicured way of looking at thing or on a piece of plot, but go out and reach the place and the people. In that way, I think we have been lucky to really break those shackles of walls or, small spaces and look at a larger canvas where people and places matter. And in this whole journey of more than 2 decades, you have also come across many women in the water sector, and many men also, because leadership is has no gender. I need to understand from you, after we have formed the council, we are gathering more and more women in the sector, and we are trying to understand them and their work apart from their personal way of dealing with, in the profession. why do you think India took so much time to really recognize many of these women in the water sector? Why are we still so short of women water professionals? The profession itself is not so new in the country, but even if I look from the time of Rajendra ji, Anil ji, and many more from that time, and I mean, both Anil Agarwal and Anil Joshi ji, I think women have been not so much at the forefront in terms of acknowledged by the society, in terms of policy decisions, in terms of having more critical positions. What do you think are the reasons, apart from patriarchy itself, which is somehow at the core of all this?
So let me understand your question a bit first, Mansi.
Yeah.
When you say water sector and you gave examples of people like Anil Gupta, Anil Joshi and others, who, I mean, do you consider water sector meaning in terms of professional people or people like Rajendra ji, who I will not basket them in a professional water sector person, no?
Okay, so it's both. It's
both.
Both. So, but for example, when we started our career, you and me coming from a very, manicured architectural education, I was hardly knowing at that time Rajendra ji and Anil Agarwal from CS as water leader in the sector, being passionate about water, not really knowing what to do, but knew that yes, something around water really gives interest. We were short of role model that time also. Yes, Medhaji was in the rise at that time. But even if I look today, if I have to do head count of water professionals and water leaders, so when I'm saying professionals, I mean all those people from grassroots to professional person who are working in the water sector, who are well known. Even if I look at that head count, I still find women not that much acknowledged as they have contributed to the society.
Okay, on the larger aspects in India, I do feel that women lack recognition. But when you say about water sector or related sectors like environment, women are not recognized like say Anil Gupta or Rajendra ji, etc. I would can give you some example. Vandana Shiva is recognized, Sunita Narayan is recognized, Medha Patkar is recognized. There are a number of other women who are recognized in the similar role. If Anil Agarwal was recognized, so is Sunita Narayan.
Yes.
If Rajendra ji is recognized, so is Vandana Shiva.
Yes.
If Chipko Andolan women were recognized, so is Medha Patkar.
Yes.
And there are so many more. So at that point, at that level where, as a leader of communities, I think the recognition is there for women as much as men. The second aspect is about, you say, water sector professionals where women are maybe fewer. Huh?
Yes.
So I would divide water sector into 2 or 3 things. One is the social study kind of governance, institutions, planning, so social sciences and humanities. And second
like
is
Anubhuti. Like Anubhuti's course, like Anubhuti's course.
Like Anubhuti or SEPT or other courses. So those are one kind, or TIS, those kind of courses. And on the other hand, there are engineering courses. So I feel that on the first side, social studies, humanities, and other side, again, the number of women who are already there and are leading are actually more than men, not less.
So it's more on the technology
side. Recognition is also more. On engineering side, it is less. And for not only water sector engineering, whether it is,
everywhere.
Engineering,
any
engineering, women have not yet, broken the glass ceiling. And there are aspects to it. There is no enabling environment. Firstly, why will, women stress over doing the job in addition to family responsibilities, which are much more than men, also on the job of civil engineering on the site or in a treatment plant or anywhere else. So it's not something which is lucrative, in many ways. It doesn't appeal the common senses also. Why will I take on more? So the onus lies on making the environment better for women in those kind of working conditions. Right. So on a site, there at least has to be better toilets. There has to be creches for the children. There are number of practical stuff which has to be done to attract women to go into that kind of engineering kind of. But actually, I would rather, these are the two kinds of things when you talk of gender things. One is what you call practical requirements. Second is strategic or structural requirements. So these are practical requirements, what I just told you, that enabling environment in terms of, say, providing facilities, enabling it for a woman, conducive for a woman's work. Second is the structural thing, which is where actually absolutely no work is done. And
Yes.
Yes. So structural thing, I mean, to give you a simpler example is like, assets are not in the name of women. So financial decisions, land rights, all kinds of things are, women are not part of it. And this is also happening because, the history of mankind a bit. So women, because of biological reason, was, homebound for some years, and men used to go out and hunt or whatever they used to do. They will be more aggressive and women would be more nurturing. So we are like, genetically more nurturing. It's a wrong word to use genetically. We are
Socially,
consciously or unconsciously, we are, taught to be nurturing people. And they are taught to be more aggressive, assertive, decision-making people. And we are the one who accept, obey, and nurture. So wherever women leaders are there also you will see, I mean, they are praised for being a nurturing person.
yeah, classic example, Medhaji, Arunaji, all of them. Vandanaji. Yes.
So it's a process that women have to come out of nurturing role, and men have to also, it's a process for them also to take up nurturing role, and women have to also leave it. Both have to happen together.
Yes.
So that, this disjunct becomes lesser.
No, but you rightly pointed out. Yeah, sorry. You rightly pointed out that actually from the social sector, we have yet more women in the water and environment sector. And thanks to some of the institutions which are running these disciplines for quite some time, and many of us like you and me, bhatkoing here and there, and eventually land up in the development sector by following our passion or getting opportunities in the sector, apart from having little bit more clarity that yes, this is where my interest lies and all. And you were rightly mentioning to Anubhuti also that once you start following passion, you can make a profession out of it, which is true. I mean, you are a classic example of it, and many of us in the Wiki Water Resource Council, when we talk to them, we find out about them. But you will also agree with me on the point that there is a layer, or let's say extra steps one has to walk when we talk about women professional and women professional being a leader or woman leader in the sector. It can, because as you were hearing also, that when we talk about leadership, it is more genderless situation. But yes, when woman is a leader, there are certain traits which we look at or they imbibe, and that is appreciated. Caregiver, nurturing, as you rightly mentioned. But when we talk about these kind of traits, and when we look at more women leaders around, and if we want to see that if we can nurture more women leaders in the sector, what do you think we require in terms of skill sets which should be developed or can be, mentored, or women can be really looked up, okay, this person has, or a person herself realizes that, yes, there are leadership skills. So basically, if you have to write some traits of good leadership, what will be those in your perception? How do you look up to your mentors, or who attracts you as good leaders?
You are differentiating between a professional and a leader, I guess.
Yes. So I say that becoming a good professional does not necessarily make you a good leader. Just like I always also say about being a teacher and professional. A teacher can be a professional, but it is not necessary that professional can be a good teacher. I mean, that's It's my way of looking at things, and same applies to professional being a leader. So a professional is a very good professional, but one has to walk those extra steps or requires those extra traits to be seen as a leader by oneself also, or by, because then once you are a leader, it has to be an acceptance by others as well. So what do you think are those some traits which we look up to these inspiring people?
I think first, when you say inspire others, you have to, I mean, that itself is an answer. You
Yes,
have to have the skill of motivating your team or
there are some
whoever
things
you
which
want
they
to see.
do. Yeah, they do some things, you know, they
Yeah.
don't get,
So
we don't get inspired just for nothing.
that's the first thing that,
Yes,
I mean, how do you motivate a team or motivate a set of people? There are different ways for different people. It's not standard.
yes, of
There
course.
there is not a blueprint for it. So the
Yes,
first and foremost skill you have to have is that you can motivate a set of people or your team, whomsoever you want to work with. Second is your communication has to be, I think, clear, so that it doesn't confuse others in many ways. That is, and at the same time, you have to also be ready and listen to others for feedback on yourself. No, because otherwise you will not, you're not responsive. You have to respond to them also. So that's also required. But I think the most important, these are the traits which
basic,
should be there, and
basic.
it's quite general. But what I think specifically would be required is to able to find a solution which is little different or out of box or innovative. I mean, you can use any term. Which is not a blueprint solution or a standard solution to a given problem. So you should have that ability to think beyond the given problems and come up with something which is maybe a continuity, may not be a continuity of what is happening, but is a solution which is more workable.
Interesting. So yes, the leader are sought to really solve many problems which others or probably someone who can really take up ideas from others and put it together in a nice way and bring up something.
Could be different. The method could be different, but the solution at which you arrive at will not be a standard solution.
Yes, of course not. But yes, you wonderfully mentioned some basic traits which we look up to in the leaders, you know. So when we talk about such leadership, and you have come across many of them in your life, would you like to share with us some of the experiences of working with some great people in your life?
Okay.
And you have some great friends at this point in time also. Yes.
Yeah, I do have. Okay, let me recall one or two incidences. Okay, should I talk about grassroots leaders?
Yes, wherever you feel like.
Yeah. Okay. So when you work in villages, of course, I mean, you know this, that, grassroots leadership appears to be much more because of also there is a reason why you see
Yes.
even in water sector, grassroots leaders are much more. And there is a
Yes.
reason for that. The reason is that it is unless and until they take the reins in their hand, they will not survive.
Yes, it's a necessity.
It's a necessity for them. And you know how making of leader also happens because of course they are made by external factors, and these factors which are very challenging, which ask for struggle, resistance, make them leaders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well put, huh? Very well put. I'm going to share something about it to you later.
Yeah. So that's one reason that you don't see so much in professionals a leadership thing, because it's not a question of survival.
Yes,
In many ways,
necessity.
there are easier ways out. There are low-hanging fruits available, which are not there at grassroots.
Yes,
You have to fight. Yeah.
absolutely.
So that is one thing. And about some incidences, I think it will require some thought from my side yet, what to narrate.
No issues, no issues. Let me share with you
Yeah.
last year's experience when I was there at the Nobel Prize Teacher Summit. And we were discussing about, of course, leadership in all kinds of things, but the focus was climate change. And time and again, the discussion was coming to this very point, as you mentioned, that there are circumstances where leaders are born. Otherwise, leaders will not be born, you know. So, I mean, and people did give example of Gandhi, Martin Luther King. And for example, if there was no independence struggle going on, Gandhi would not have been born as Gandhi. You know, he would have been just another advocate in that time period. So very well put, that necessity also, or the situation of the society also, I will say, breeds leadership, because it becomes the need of the hour. You know, someone has to take the reign, and at the grassroots level, we have seen that there are more women leaders, because it is about har din ka pani. You have to ensure for your family and for your neighbors and for your village. Very rightly put on that, and I can resonate with it. And also an important point, why professional women are also probably, I should not use the word lacking, but there is not much need arriving to really go that extra step to step into the leadership. But some time ago, I wrote an article on looking at all the political leadership since independence in water, environment, climate change, all the biodiversity related, you know, sector, and to fish out how many women leaders have been so far. And it is not even 1%, Alka. So, again, yes, going beyond, I mean, I should not say this, but I always wish that Vandana Shiva or Medha Patkar or Sunita Narayan sometimes becomes our environment minister or water minister, and they really take some radical decisions to bring a change in the society, because they have been born out of the ground, you know, and they are not coming from those cozy comfort areas of work. But anyway, let's return to our main question, which we have in our plate. My next question to you
The
is
question is about political leadership, is it?
no, but I'm just giving an example. That's another mile, you know, from becoming a water leader. I would aspire these leaders to take the reign of major decisions in the country. That has been my wish always. I mean, of course, they are now set leaders of their own field. We had Nafisa today to discuss. She is leader by all merits, you know. But then to bring that additional change and really make a major change in the society, I do see that from the stage of Nafisa, Vandana, Sunita, can they just move one more step, and probably it becomes a larger game changer for the entire country, for that sector also. So I'm just taking that extra note from here, and that applies to us, that are we willing to take that extra step to go a little bit beyond, you know. For them, there are these extra, so it's more aspirational question, to be honest. But let me come back to the whole idea of platforms and associations in the sector. You have been part of many fraternities, or, you know, many associations, and you are also now part of the Wiki Water Resource Council. How do you think these sectors are important, you know, to mentor, to support, or to even to do the basic, acknowledge and appreciate the role or the participation and presence women have in the water sector? And you can give any example. You don't have to limit yourself to Wiki Water Resource Council, because it is at a very nascent stage. But from your experience, do these platforms or networks really make a difference, or are they required?
I think, yes, they do. Of course they do. And that is why networks are being formed. Because there is a felt need to associate, to have that solidarity. Otherwise, networks will not be formed. No, unless and until, because actually it's not that you are gaining anything out of it materially.
Yes.
But you gain solidarity, you gain, you know, what do you call it? It's a wrong word or right word, I don't know, sisterhood.
Yes.
So you gain
weight in the sector. You gain weight in the sector. There is a voice which comes.
There is a voice. So there is a felt need to get together and do something. Okay. So of course it has value. Now, in terms of like different networks which are functioning. And if I draw a comparison with Wiki, I think Rotary could be a good example.
Yes.
So Rotary is something, the basic objective of Rotary was to cultivate friendships. That's about all. It's such a small thing. Cultivate friendships. And so easily understood. So that is the objective, nothing beyond that.
Yes. Like in Wiki, we are the sisterhood.
It resonates so well.
Yes, and it is functioning for so many years.
And global.
Yes. And it's on a very simple concept.
Yes, yes. So this is just one example, that no lofty ideas, just to the idea of being together. But when you start with an objective, of course, there could be many things. But if your focus is water, the obvious things which occur to me through other networks which are happening also is very general and which is known to everyone, is resource pooling, joint advocacy, could be joint monitoring. You have report cards which you want to submit it for government or governance or anywhere else, for raising voice, making it known, or capacity building. Now, sharing information, if somebody seeks it or somebody doesn't seek it, but you feel it will be valuable. So if that is a role which is taken upon, like you are doing, I really would like to compliment you on this, that, it's you are giving without anyone seeking it, because you think it's important.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is what a network can bring. And resource pooling is something which should be looked at more seriously, I think, because this is a step where real solidarity would come in picture. Resource pooling, not in terms of only money, in terms of knowledge, in terms of expertise, in terms of building the skills, capacities.
And even just standing at the back saying that, yes, we are there with you, just go ahead and do it. The basic emotional support also matters. Yes. I mean, I'm seeing that with Wiki Water Resource Council here, when I hardly knew 10 to 15% of people in the whole group of 90 plus women now. And now I know each one of them in and out, in the sense that I'm talking to at least 2 or 3 women on a daily basis, Alka, for some reason or the other. And it is such an enriching experience to know women from across the country, not only about their water endeavors, but about other things also, about their own personal careers, even personal life as well with some of them. We start sharing that being a woman and we are of that nature, this whole nurturing idea and all, that comes very naturally. So yes, that sisterhood matters. But when again, coming back to when we are talking about these as professional networks and people like, youth who will join or not join, there are certain expectations or certain ideas which you rightly very well put, that it can be really looked for collaboration or doing any kind of advisory work or any other things. So if I have to ask you as Alka, and joining Wiki Water Resource Council, I know you are a very good friend of mine, and I said, please join. And that's where you are here to support me also. To large extent, I am aware of that. And I need to understand from you, how can we really make this whole now in a nascent stage of Wiki, if we can take it a step further and really start doing some activities which can also benefit building more women leadership and appreciating more women in the sector, encouraging more women who are already there. What kind of activities Wiki Water Resource Council should be undertaking? Of course, one of this is that we are just trying to understand your life. I mean, all of you. We are reaching 50, by the way, next week. What other activities we should be taking up? This is just a basic thing which we are doing, Alka, just to know each one of you.
Yeah. So I guess firstly, rather than finding it from me, it might be a good idea to do a kind of, structural survey from everyone.
Yes, we will do that also. We are just asking here.
What is the expectation? That is one. But having an expectation and, our ability to fulfill it might be different.
Yeah,
So
but just getting ideas from you people, you know.
yeah. So that is the first thing. Secondly, I also feel that we can learn from what others are doing. So,
Yes.
so there are networks which are, if you feel that there is an urgency to take up some issue, again, I'm repeating myself, is that you can have joint advocacy campaigns, you can
Yes.
have joint programs, basically, and also the most important is this intangible benefit of solidarity,
Yes, of
which
course.
is the beginning and the end. But
Yes.
beyond that, if you want to go, then there are various ideas depending on our abilities and the aspirations of members. We can match that. There could be mentorship programs. There are so many mentorship programs which are going on even in water and sanitation sector. Is that you match mentors and mentees. So you
Yes.
register as mentor or mentee or both, and then you mentor them for, you commit time for 9 months or whatever, that could be a program. There could be, if somebody feels that, okay, do we want to be working on drinking water, then what kind of work will you do? If there is technical advisory needed, somebody can advise on that. Or if anything else, the whatever are the skills available. So
Wonderful. Yeah, because I think from the Wiki Water Resource
how to
Council,
make the match is important, that is what is important.
yes, how to understand that. So in these conversations, we are trying to learn from you people, and probably after that, as you rightly mentioned, we should go through some kind of structural, discussion through the council members to find out what are next steps we should be taking, because you may also realize that we are barely 18 months old in terms of doing these activities and forming properly a council, and having organizing some activities. And just now we finished the World Water Week, may having our presence and fully supported by CV. So we are taking those steps, but yes, the backbone definitely stays as sisterhood, because if that is there, then other things can be built. And you will be also knowing that there are other projects which are going within the sisterhood network, where people are collaborating on different aspects. Like even my Ganga project is happening with all the youth council from the wiki, all youth council members are my research associates. So something like this, I mean, people can explore professional collaborations also once they know each other. So that is definitely a possibility. So any last word you have for the younger generation, or particularly to my interest is, how do we engender the water sector where still women have the brunt of water crisis?
So as I explained earlier also, that social and humanities, I don't think the women members are less. And if there are number of women opting for it, there is a strong possibility that leadership would emerge in those kind of sectors. Now, where it is lacking is more on engineering side. So if at all you think that number of women working in engineering side needs to be increased, probably one needs to focus on, interacting with engineering schools.
Yeah,
Talking to them about it, rather than, going where already, some kind of enlightenment is already there.
Sure. Like
Yeah.
IITs, I taught a couple of years ago, 5 girls in 130 boys.
Yeah. So if you want more women, and also on the other side, that there has to be an environment which is conducive for a woman to work. Why will they work there unless and until, their needs are satisfied there? So
Very
both
well.
things. So I think if, we need to find where are the gaps and work there.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to bring the last question, focusing your role in Wiki, and we really want you to be a little bit more telling us how would you like to contribute or do something, or do you have any idea where you think that we can take some kind of activity in the Wiki where you can lead the activity?
I am available, as you know, whenever you call me.
Yes, that's the beauty of it. So I'm going. So do you want me to decide for you, or you're going to
No,
tell me?
no.
Use me
I'm
like
coming to that also. I could take up some mentoring role if you want me
Sure.
to.
That will be very nice.
Surely I can do that. Or if you want some hand-holding support in something writing or how to interact with communities or basic skills, how to do certain things, how to interact with government, how to interact with communities, how to interact with other NGOs, how to interact with fellows. So
That's very nice. And you have been doing it. Interestingly, your center's name is People in Center. So that already speaks volumes, the way you look at it, And you have been also, just on one call, you also did a lot of sessions on book reading for us. So that is already a lot of work which you have already contributed. So if you have any questions for us, maybe I can take it. Otherwise, I will do the vote of thanks for the session.
I just have one small suggestion.
Please go ahead.
I think when we talk of leadership, firstly and especially leaders out of professionals. And this I had learned when I was traveling a lot, long time back. So
the nomad Alka.
So the difference between what we know professional as and what is the actual definition. What do you call a professional? Who is a professional? I believe a mason is also a professional.
Absolutely. Right. We are also using the same definition.
Whom do you call professional? Whom do you call
trained in doing something? So and not university trained, just trained. So not degree trained. I feel embarrassed now myself after doing all these degrees that it was really not required if I had to follow my passion.
That is not correct. That's not correct. Those are the things which have brought you here.
Of course.
So no, I believe after talking to many people and many people who are at the forefront of community organizing and working with people, I've arrived at a definition of professional.
Okay, let us hear.
Definition is someone who is reliable in their work, first. Second, who sets a very high quality standards for himself or herself. Second is that, and he knows every aspect of their job. He or she, we'll say she here. So I think, I would add to this that they care about what they're doing. So, anybody who is doing this, I think is a professional.
Absolutely.
So if I have a cook, I have a mason, I have anyone, I will not separate them. They are all professionals. And before becoming a good leader, I think it's essential that we become a good professional.
And good team member.
In this definition.
And also good team member to become the leader of the team or whatever, That's true. Thank you so much, Alka. Thanks a lot. And I mean, that we both can go on, and it's always pleasure to talk to you. And I really felt the conversation flowing like water. And I hope you also felt the same, because every speaker and like you also asked what kind of questions we are going to ask you. But as you see that we were just flowing, depending on the conversations, temperament, or let's say the flow. So people like you and knowing you for so long time and also hailing from the similar profession, it's no better than saying that we are the same water actually. May you remain an inspiration to others. And we are grateful to have learned about your water endeavors. May you also continue your water activities as you have been doing. And do keep us posted as you also do, because we are part of few groups professionally also, and in the soft groups of messages. But we shall continue with our Monday Munching with Women for Water to know more about women, and look forward to every Monday at 5 p.m. to really understand this wonderful life of these wonderful women. You may please follow our social media platforms for our regular updates. And we look forward to more such conversations. And of course, out of this conversation, look forward to chatting with Alka endlessly. Thank you so much. And thanks, Anubhuti, for initiating the conversation and coming up with questions which you usually have done. so that you can really tell your friends how it is to be in the water sector and knowing more women from the sector. Thank you so much. And please take care, Alka and Anubhuti.
Thank you, Anubhuti. Thank you, Mansi, so much. Thanks.
Thank you.